You know, here at Q13, we are starting an important conversation about mental health. Our goal is to end the stigma, and this is the first step in that process, just simply talking about it. So here to help with that conversation is our resident expert therapist, Joshua Magallanes. Joshua, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So why do you think there is this stigma attached to mental health? Like, why do I feel okay talking about, like, the flu, but I feel weird talking about, mental health issues?
Well, I think like most things, we fear it,
Yeah.
right? And so when we don't know what to do with it or how to interact with mental health, we tend to shy away from it. And when we think about it historically and morally, for years we've always talked about that crazy person or that weird person.
That's kind of the verbiage we use.
Yeah, and so as children, we adopt that language, and then we grow up and continue to distance ourselves from individuals who might appear different or seem weird or act crazy.
So what do we do to, because you're right, it starts from a young age, it's been that way for decades. I even feel like recently we're only just starting that conversation. So what do we do now to lessen that ingrained stigma?
Yeah, talking about it in truth, right, and being honest about what's going on. When we think about, in fact, the area that I work in with men, almost 9% of men in the U.S. deal with depression. That's a lot of men when we think about it, right? 6 million. And so actually talking about what it looks like, looking at signs and being able to feel comfortable talking about it and not shying away from it. I think we see people as weak or not as strong if they are depressed or are depressing or going through anxiety. So having a real conversation about it with our family and our loved ones.
When you mention 6 million men dealing with depression, and then, words like weak and strong, and maybe you're weak. Do you notice there's a difference between men and women when it comes to talking and being able to talk about mental health?
Most definitely. I think as a society, gender does play a role, right? We can't ignore the fact that there are gender roles that are present. And so when I do have individuals who identify as female come in, they're willing to speak more freely about what's going on and feel safe in that environment. Whereas men do take a little bit longer to get into the root of it and want to acknowledge and accept where it does come from. I'm seeing a lot of change, though, as we move through with more and more individuals coming forward and saying, something's up. I just don't feel like myself and don't know what to do.
I do feel like when we are honest about ourselves and we're trying to live that authentic life, I feel like that's when we live our full life.
Right.
And I feel like you can't do that if you are not opening up about your mental health or how you feel. That is okay, I feel like. And we're not allowing that.
Right.
Also this morning here, if people are watching this, then maybe they're going, I want to foster this culture in my home. I want my kids to feel okay about talking about mental health. I want to be open with them. How do you start that?
Yeah. Embracing the idea that it's okay to feel sad. And it's okay to be angry. That's one of the areas that nobody likes to go into because we don't know what to do with anger. And when we really tear away from it, what is underneath the anger or being angry or mad is hurt. And so talking about what that is and allowing our youth to say and express those things, and as adults as well, when somebody says, hey, I'm feeling sad, wow, that sucks, you're feeling sad, what are you feeling sad about? And be open to it. I think as individuals, we have to also be able to be open to receiving each other as well.
Absolutely, and I do feel like parents, of course, want to make sure that their kids are fine. They want to make sure that they're always okay, but parents don't have to have everything figured out. If they feel like maybe their teen is struggling, maybe they want to reach out for more help, there are outlets to do that.
Definitely, and stigma-free. I was, doing some Google work this morning and whatnot around Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yeah, which is this month.
Which is this month, and it's been around since 1949. And there are organizations here in Seattle, organizations that support for trans youth, for the Trevor Project, for instance, around
That's great.
suicide.
Yeah.
You know, so being able to really have those tough conversations and be real about it,
Right.
you know, and not shy away from it. And I think, you know, as you mentioned, parents wanting to have their children be safe, it's also going there with them and saying, you know what, I don't have all the procedures, I didn't have a rule book, but I'm willing to try and understand and learn with you.
Absolutely. Joshua, this is great. Thank you so much for helping us get this conversation started. And hey, if you are struggling, or maybe you're in crisis, maybe you need someone to talk to, or maybe your son or daughter does, please reach out. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 800-273-8255, or you can text the word HOME to the crisis text line 24/7 at 741-741. And your website is joshuatherapy.com, so people can reach out to you as well.
Most
Joshua,
definitely.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz.